It was while amongst medical residents that the feeling hit me the hardest. The great unbelonging. I was invited to join an academic session with the residents, but was asked to leave partway through it. To leave for the part that was for residents only. As the only student at the site at the time, it felt more personal than I'm sure it was intended. It re-established the labels, though. The them versus me. This act of incomplete invitation is not new to me. Other residents have offered to have students at some events before, but with limitations. A single social event, for example, is offered as a teaser, but the other events are, again, for residents only. I've been given access to physician lounges in various hospitals, but when an attending asks who I am, the conversation usually dies off quickly. A passive rejection, as I'm welcomed into the space but not into the company. I'm invited to see patients, but evidently, we hold unequal roles in the conversation and are guarded by professionalism. I strongly recall the comment a nurse made to me when I was in their lounge early in my training. The nurse, when she discovered I was a medical student, offered that perhaps I could go to the physician's lounge instead. Perhaps I would be more welcome there. People often asked me during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic how it felt to be in healthcare during that time. But I wasn't on the front lines for most of it like my medical colleagues were. I was tucked away in my basement suite, trying to study while being bombarded with a special tsunami of pandemic updates from the medical system and my MD academic program. Even when clinical duties started, it was advised for medical students to limit contact with COVID-positive patients as much as possible to prevent unnecessary exposure. Included in being exposed to the issue, excluded from participating in its resolution. Partially shared labels make the barriers to connection feel even more apparent. I am a student, but my program doesn't follow the structural norms of semesters, regular assignments, or even fall break, which other students experience. The first and second year medical students are in lectures and courses with minimal exposure to clinic work at that time. The third years have more understanding, but aren't wrestling with the pressure of applying for residency at the same time as balancing clinical work. As for my own classmates, I've chosen rural clerkship streams to promote my career dreams, but there are often no other learners around. When classmates do come for the occasional elective, I'm privy to their tales of a clerkship experience so foreign to mine, plus tales of networking and their academic glory and specialist pursuits. I don't know their true motives for pursuing these specialties, and my speculations are unfruitful. So to each their own, I suppose. Some of this reality is unavoidable. There are inherent barriers to understanding another person completely because we are not them. The nuances of experience create division. I will have some of those labels someday. Resident, attending, doctor. But to dwell on the expectation all will be solved with a change in status is a misplaced hope. I choose to believe a better focus is to not target the barriers of labels. Instead, to build bridges between the shared complexity of being human, with questions and with stories. There is a bridge to humanity made when a plastic surgeon cried after I asked them about their most memorable case. I resonated with what an anesthesiologist shared about the struggles of his classmates in university with reduced affirmation from preceptors. I always ask patients who have played rugby what their field position was. Even with incomplete invitations and minimally shared overlap of experience with residents and classmates, there is the choice to view all connections as an attempt at bridging the gap. And everyone can be asked about what their dreams are. I often reflect on the following Maya Angelou quote: "We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike." The human condition is complex and nuanced, but for every excuse we have to focus on the barriers to belonging, None can compromise the humanity we share.